Have you ever wondered why so many ancient writings seem deliberately obscure, filled with riddles, strange symbols, and cryptic metaphors? Why didn't the sages of the past simply write their wisdom in plain, direct language? The truth is, they did not want everyone to understand. In the temples of Egypt, the mystery schools of Greece, the monasteries of Tibet, and the hidden chambers of ancient India, knowledge was considered more than information, it was power. Power to heal or to harm. Power to awaken or to deceive. And like fire in the hands of a child, power given to the unprepared could cause ruin, both for the individual and the society around them. So the initiates devised a system, a way of speaking directly to those with eyes to see and ears to hear, while leaving the unready in a cloud of beautiful confusion. They spoke in code, not the mechanical ciphers of modern intelligence agencies, but living, symbolic languages. Myth, allegory, sacred geometry, and layered metaphor. In this way, a single line of scripture could mean one thing to the common worshiper, another to the devoted student, and yet another to the initiate who had undergone years of inner preparation. But these codes were not meant to exclude forever. They were designed to protect the teachings from distortion, from being used for selfish gain, and from losing their original essence as they travel through generations. In this journey, we will explore why ancient texts were written in code, how to recognize these hidden patterns, and why this practice is not merely a relic of the past, but a living tradition still relevant today. We will uncover the philosophical reasons behind the secrecy, the methods used to conceal meaning, and, perhaps most intriguingly, how to begin unlocking the codes for yourself. Because once you learn to read in this way, you will never look at sacred writings, or even the world around you, in the same way again. To understand why ancient texts were written in code, we must first step into the worldview of the ancient mind. A world where knowledge was not merely accumulated, but transmitted like a sacred fire from one keeper to the next. In ancient Egypt, the priesthood of Thoth guarded the Medu Neter, the words of the gods. These hieroglyphs were not simply letters or sounds. They were sacred images, each layered with spiritual, cosmological, and magical meaning. To the uninitiated, they told the story of kings and gods. To the initiate, they revealed blueprints of creation, formulas for transformation, and the hidden mechanics of the soul's journey. In ancient Greece, the mysteries of Eleusis conveyed the myth of Demeter and Persephone to the public. But for those who underwent the secret initiation rites, the same myth became an experiential map of death, rebirth, and the soul's ascent into higher consciousness. Plato himself hinted that the deepest truths were not written openly but concealed in symbols and allegory, lest they be misunderstood or misused. In India, the Vedas and Upanishads often spoke in layered paradoxes, mantras, and metaphors. One verse could be an instruction for a fire ritual, a cosmic allegory of the universe's birth, and an inner meditation practice all at once. The Sanskrit term Upanishad literally means to sit near, implying that true understanding came only through sitting close to the teacher, receiving oral keys that would unlock the cryptic verses. Even in the Christian tradition, Jesus is recorded as saying, "To you it has been given to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, but to them it has not been given." His parables, simple on the surface, were in fact carefully coded narratives. Those prepared could extract multiple layers of truth. The rest heard only a moral story. The philosophical foundation for this secrecy rested on a single principle. Revelation must match readiness. Just as a seed will not sprout in barren soil, so too will profound wisdom fail to take root in an unprepared mind, or worse, it will grow into something distorted and destructive. The ancients believed that wisdom, once corrupted, could cause more harm than ignorance. Thus, ancient authors became master architects of meaning. They built their writings like temples, grand on the outside, but containing hidden chambers within, accessible only to those who held the right symbolic keys. If we wish to decode these writings today, We must learn not only the languages and symbols they used, but also the states of consciousness they assumed in their readers. To grasp the mechanics of coded wisdom, we must understand that ancient writers did not view language as we do today. In our modern age, words are often treated as mere labels, symbols pointing to fixed definitions. But to the ancients, a word, a symbol, or even the arrangement of lines on a page was a living vessel of power. It was not just describing truth, it was imbued with it. Encoded writing operated on multiple simultaneous layers, each one hidden beneath the other like nested worlds. The first layer, the outer court, as some traditions called it, was accessible to anyone. This was the literal story, a myth of gods battling, a king's conquest, a recipe for an herb, or a moral teaching. The second layer was symbolic. In this realm, gods became archetypes of human and cosmic forces. A king's conquest could represent the soul's victory over lower instincts. An herbal recipe could double as an alchemical formula for inner transformation. The third layer was initiatic, accessible only to those who had been trained in the secret keys of interpretation. This layer often relied on correspondences, a system where planets matched metals, colors aligned with emotions, numbers resonated with divine principles, and sacred geometry revealed the architecture of creation. Without knowing these correspondences, a reader could stare at the text for years and miss the entire message. Ancient Hebrew mystics, for example, used gematria, a numerological system where each letter had a number, and words with the same numerical value were linked in hidden ways. The word light might have the same number as truth, suggesting a deep spiritual connection. Similarly, Egyptian scribes embedded mathematical ratios and astronomical data within myths, making their texts a fusion of story, science, and spirituality. But why go to such lengths? Partly for protection. If hostile forces or the unprepared encountered the text, they would see only harmless narrative. But more importantly, the code was a test. If you could not pierce the outer veil, you were not ready to hold the fire behind it. The very effort to decipher the symbols trained the mind, refined the intuition, and forged the spiritual maturity needed to wield the knowledge safely. In this way, reading a coded text was itself a ritual, a journey of initiation in ink. Each layer you unlocked was a door to a deeper chamber of the temple, and each door demanded not only intellect but transformation of the reader. If the first half of our exploration revealed why sacred texts were written in code, the second half unveils the how, the hidden architectures of encoding, and the mindset required to penetrate them. There was no single universal cipher. Each tradition forged its own labyrinth. Some relied on symbolic substitution, where a word, image, or mythic event stood in place of an abstract truth. For example, the alchemists spoke of turning lead into gold, a phrase that, to the uninitiated, appeared to be about metallurgy, but in reality symbolized the refinement of the base human self into the enlightened, incorruptible soul. Others used mythological layering, weaving cosmic principles into epic tales. The battles of the Mahabharata, the labors of Hercules, or the journeys of Odysseus were not merely heroic adventures. They were maps of the soul's trials, victories, and inevitable return to source. Each character became an aspect of the self, each obstacle a spiritual test. A more subtle form was structural encoding, where the very form of the text concealed meaning. This could be numerical patterns in the length of verses, repetitions of certain letters at precise intervals, or hidden geometries embedded in the arrangement of words. The Quran's rhythmic recitations, the Bible's numerical structures, and the Vedas' poetic meters all hold mathematical precision far beyond mere artistic flourish. They were energetic blueprints. To unlock such codes, ancient initiates cultivated what might be called the double vision of the mind. One eye saw the outer narrative, the literal form. The other peered through it into the symbolic realm. This was not merely intellectual decoding, it was a tuning of consciousness. You could not unlock a spiritual code without resonating with its frequency. In this sense, the code was both a lock and a mirror. If you were patient, disciplined, and spiritually attuned, the symbols would open for you. Not because you had figured them out, but because you had become the kind of being who could see them. This is why so many of these works seem inert to casual readers but come alive in the hands of an initiate. The text is not changing, you are. And that transformation is precisely what the original authors intended. If the ancients hid their wisdom in code, then our task today is not only to admire the artistry, it is to learn how to read it. Decoding sacred texts is not about cracking a puzzle for curiosity's sake. It is a spiritual practice that transforms the reader as much as it reveals the message. 1. Cultivate the mind of the initiate. Before you can interpret a code, you must tune yourself to its frequency. This begins with slowing down your reading. Ancient initiates did not rush through a scroll. They lingered on a single sentence for hours, sometimes days. Try this. Choose a small passage from a sacred text, perhaps a verse from the Tao Te Ching or a line from the Hermetica, and meditate on it daily. Write down every possible layer of meaning you can find. Over time, you will notice the text beginning to open in ways it never did before. 2. Learn the language of symbols. Every tradition has its symbolic vocabulary. A serpent might mean danger in one context, but in esoteric systems it can signify divine energy, kundalini, transformation, or hidden wisdom. Begin building your own symbolic dictionary. When you encounter a recurring image, be it a number, an animal, a color, research its meanings across cultures. Then meditate on which resonance feels most alive for you. 3. Pay attention to numbers and patterns. Encoded wisdom often hides in structure, not just in words. Notice repetition. Does a certain number keep appearing? Are there unusual breaks or symmetrical patterns in the text? For example, if a poem contains 7 stanzas of 7 lines, this is rarely an accident. 7 often represents spiritual completion. Keep a notebook for such structural clues. 4. Practice cross-referencing. No ancient text exists in isolation. The Gospel of John echoes the Hermetic maxim, "In the beginning was the Word." The Upanishads and Plato's dialogues share visions of the soul's journey. Cross-referencing lets you see how different traditions encode the same truth in unique symbols. The more connections you see, the easier it becomes to recognize universal patterns. 5. Approach the text as a living being. Encoded works respond to the consciousness of the reader. Before reading, create a short ritual. Light a candle, take deep breaths, or simply set an intention. Reveal to me what I am ready to understand. Over time, this respectful approach can lead to moments where the meaning of a symbol or phrase seems to flash into your awareness without effort. 6. Accept that some codes open slowly. There will be lines you revisit for years before they unfold. This is by design. The ancients understood that wisdom is not truly yours until you are ready to embody it. Patience is not just a virtue here. It is the key to unlocking deeper layers. By combining discipline with curiosity, reverence with play, you begin to bridge the gap between the outer words and the inner truth. The coded texts of the ancients are not locked vaults, they are living gateways. And every time you cross their threshold, you step closer to the consciousness of those who first wrote them.
The ancients understood something we are only beginning to remember. That truth cannot be given, it must be discovered. A teaching handed over too easily can be twisted, diluted, or forgotten. But a teaching hidden in code, wrapped in symbols and patterns, demands that the seeker transform themselves in order to receive it. When you approach an ancient text, you are not merely reading words. You are stepping into a living conversation that has been carried across centuries. The author is not speaking to the crowd. They are speaking directly to the part of you that is ready to awaken. The outer layer is for the curious, but the inner layer is for the committed. Every riddle, every repeated number, every strange metaphor is an invitation. Will you look deeper? Will you sharpen your perception until the unseen becomes visible? The code is not there to keep you out. It is there to bring you in slowly, deliberately, so that by the time you understand the truth, you are ready to live it. In this way, decoding ancient wisdom is not an academic exercise. It is an act of initiation. You are not simply learning about the mysteries. You are entering them. So the next time you encounter a line in scripture that feels strange, or a symbol in a myth that seems out of place, pause. Ask yourself, what door is this trying to open in me? Then listen, not just with your mind, but with your whole being. For the greatest secret is not that the ancients hid their wisdom. It's that they hid it in plain sight, knowing that only those with awakened eyes would see it. And now that responsibility is yours.